Hello and welcome to another episode of Agency Automators. Today I'm joined by my partner Jordan. What up?
What's up?
And we're incredibly excited today because we have one of the world's leading experts on AppScript and Node and automation, David Sottimano, all the way from where in Colombia are you today?
I've been Medellin.
Oh, that's right. You were telling me all about it. So, David, I'm overjoyed to be on a call with you. Can you jump in and just give us a brief intro and tell us what we're going to be doing? Because this is a first for Agency Automators.
Yeah, cool. So I've been an SEO now, I think, for about 12 years. And I started a journey with programming maybe around 4 or 5 years ago, and have been getting involved in AppScript and mostly JavaScript development. And mainly I've gone from more of like sales to marketing to technical marketing to development because I find it fun. And today I want to do something a little bit different, which is a little bit risky, which is live coding, right? And so we're going to do, I didn't get the suggestions that I needed. So we're going to go ahead with something that I concocted, okay? And this is going to be a combination of a few things. So we're going to build a public API through Google Cloud Functions. And then we're going to have that API pull from Google Trends, and then we're going to pull in that information into a Google Sheet, and then we're going to visualize it in Data Studio. I might actually leave that to you, Noah, if that's okay, that last part.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll learn things along the way. There's going to be a bit of Node.js. There's going to be obviously some JavaScript and AppScript. And yeah, ready to go. So
cool. You ready to share your screen?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Awesome.
Cool. So this is basically what we're going to be doing, exactly what I described. The only thing that I didn't tell you in that little intro was that we're going to be using a really cool package from NPM, which is the Node Package Manager. Okay. And so somebody's written a really cool Google Trends API package. And so I don't expect you guys to have everything installed, but I have Node.js installed. I'm currently running on a Mac. Okay. So first of all, what I'm going to do is find out where I am, and then I'm going to go in my terminal and find out what folders are here. And so I'm going to make a directory called Google Trends Demo. So now I'm going to cd into the Google Trends Demo. Okay. So I'm here. There's nothing in here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use npm init. And the reason why I want to do this, you can go through this, but you really don't have to. I'm just going to go ahead and click through. Okay, this is all okay. The reason why I'm going to do this is because I want something called a package.json. And so that's a little tiny file that essentially tells whoever's using your program, right, that these are the dependencies you need. And so here we need this Google Trends API. And so it's called Google Trends API. And we're going to go back to our terminal, and we're going to npm install this, and we're going to do --save, so it goes into our package.json. Okay. And last thing we're going to do is I'm going to touch index.js. So I'm going to create my first index file. And then from here, I'm going to go into VS Code. I do everything from the command line because I find it easier. And here we are. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got 3 files here that npm, well, 2 files that npm generated, which is package.json. And this is going to be important here, especially this part, this dependencies. So I'm going to just make the screen a little bit bigger. And we're going to go into index.js. So I'm going to be pretty lazy here. And I'm going to take the quick start wherever that is. And so I have to declare that I'm using it. Right, so that's good. And then here it looks like a really basic output. Okay, and so I've got the keyword is Women's March, as you can see here. So that's what we're taking. And I'm not entirely sure where I'm going to get back here, but I'm going to go into the terminal. Right, so VS Code is what I'm using. And this is, in my opinion, the best editor out in the market. And what I just did was I went to View, and I went to my terminal. So from here, I'm going to use nodemon, which essentially is going to be watching my files for any changes that I do. And I want to watch for index.js changes. And so as we can see here, this package works right away. And these results are awesome, okay? And so you've got timeline data, formatted time, format access time. So this is our JSON object. So we know that this is working now, okay? Of course, you would do a bunch more tests and you would probably modify the code, but we're gonna do this super fast today and we're gonna try to get this working. So next step, Google Cloud Functions, perfect. And look at that, featured snippet. So if you don't have any experience with Cloud Functions, it's a serverless function. I'm not sure how else to describe this. You don't have to have a server. And it's really, really cool. And they give you up to 2 million invocations per month for free. So it's powerful. And now you can use it with a whole bunch of, you can use it with Node.js, you can use it with Python, right? So what we're gonna do here is I just tried this out, but I'm gonna go back to this project here. I'm gonna do this from scratch. And I'm gonna create a function. Okay, so I'm gonna call this a Google Trends demo. Hopefully you guys can see all this that's going on here. Memory allocated, okay? So now this is new in Google Cloud Functions. You can actually give it 2 gigs, which is handy because you can do a lot of powerful things. I don't need that much. The trigger here is going to be HTTP. So that means it's basically an API. We're gonna trigger this function by an HTTP request, okay? Authentication, allow unauthenticated invocations. Yes, because maybe somebody else is going to want to try this. Runtime, I'm going to go with Node.js 10 beta. Okay, and so here, all right, let's open this up a little bit. Usually, you would never write your source code directly in a Cloud Function. Okay, I'm going to do this because for the sake of speeding this up. So what you're looking at here is essentially, it looks like a lot like Express.js. Express.js, I'll write this here.
Yeah, okay. It does.
And, yeah, and so this is basically it. And this is the function that we're exporting, which is hello world right now, okay? And a few other things to explain, right? So this rec.query.message, is actually equal to this. So whatever our endpoint is, so endpoint.com, and then it's going to be query parameter message equals, okay? That's essentially what we're saying here. So what we can do is we can take our code that we know is working. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to paste this in here. This is going to be a little bit messy at first. The first thing I actually want to do is I need to tell Google Cloud Functions the next time this is compiled that it needs the Google Trends API package. So let's just chuck that in there. And so next time that this package builds, it's going to include that package. Let's go back here for a second. Okay. So as we can see here, I'm doing the same thing as I was doing in my terminal. So const Google Trends is requiring this specific npm package. Now, we want to make this a little bit more flexible, right? So I want to say const keyword equals rec.params.keyword, okay?
No shit.
Right? Yeah.
So we're going to have a URL. Yeah, so you're going to put a URL in the spreadsheet and you're going to have the param be the keyword that you enter into a cell?
Yeah.
Or you put the, okay, roughly. I mean, you'll have the URL inside AppScript and the params going in the cell.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's baller. That's so cool.
So what we're going to do here actually is actually going to use rec.query.keyword. The params is, I can't remember if it was like this. If you have an endpoint and then you could just put this. So it would be like that, and then whatever the keyword is. But we're not going to do that. We're just going to do just a regular query string so that it's a little bit more familiar. And so here, what I want to do is, this is what we're actually executing. Okay, so this keyword is Women's March right now, and we want to make this flexible, right? So keyword is going to be keyword. And if you really wanted to, the magic of ES6, I don't need to even do that because it's repetitive, and I could just do that, okay? And here, instead of console logging these awesome results, just like I would in Express, I'm going to res.send results. Let me explain this really quickly for a second. These really should be written out in a tutorial, but this means request, REQ, and RES is response. The request is whatever's coming in. And so what's coming in is going to be a query with keyword as the parameter, right? And then what goes out, go ahead.
All of this makes sense. So it's all getting pushed to the export, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to get rid of this. And normally you would put some kind of authentication or something. We don't have time for that. So Google Trends is our export. Okay, and const keyword again. This is keyword in param. And if there are results for the keyword, we're going to send them. And if there's an error, we are going to send the error. So that's what we have so far. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And I'm just going to check here really quickly if there's anything else I need to do. Oh, yeah. So Google Trends is what we're exporting. I'm going to actually call this gtrends just to make sure that there's no conflicts with the other variable I put in there. So gtrends, and that's the one I want to execute. Environment variables. Allow all traffic. Yep. That looks good. So it's going to go ahead and create this function, and it should allow anybody to access this endpoint. I'm not entirely sure if we have to add permissions or not, but we should be able to see this within a few minutes, I hope. So Noah, do you have any questions so far?
Yeah, so in other Node stuff that I've seen, you could structure your export at the bottom, and you could export out that constant or the variable. Could you structure it that way, or is that strictly a Google Cloud function way of structuring the index.js where you have to do exports dot? Ooh,
so let's go back into this, and I just want to see what you mean here.
So on line 10, you have exports.gtrends. Like if you're in AWS Lambda, you have to have it structured, I think, at the bottom. So it'll have like export parentheses with what you want to export on the inside of that. Could you structure this that way too, or does it have to be structured exactly like this where?
So I follow the Google, I follow the actual hello world example, and I haven't tried it any other way.
Okay,
but,
cool. Got it.
Yeah. So this didn't compile for some reason. So let's see.
Is it the package.json? Because it was a JSON error, wasn't it?
Did you see a JSON error?
That's what I thought that it said.
There's no closing curly bracket.
Yeah, closing. Yeah. At the bottom. You need one more.
Oh, I can't edit this right now. Hold on a sec. Thank you, guys. So package.json.
Oh.
How's that?
We're feeling really good about this one.
I hope so. Missing brackets suck. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't really played with AWS Lambda, to be perfectly honest. I think I tried it once, but I mainly stick in the Google ecosystem just because it feels a lot more familiar to me.
Yeah.
And do you find that from a permission level, it's easier to share across, AppScript and Cloud Functions, or did that not really play into it?
Yeah, so when I've done Cloud Functions before and connected them with Sheets and that kind of thing, it usually is pretty seamless just because I'm mainly building with my own accounts. And so generally the project owner, and I don't really have any issues. I have had issues in the past creating public endpoints, but it's not anything that's a major roadblock, right? Hey, look at that. So test the function. So that looks like it worked. And let's just go to it in the browser. It should be.
Wow. So you could then
was
put parentheses.
keyword.
Sorry, I'm so
Keyword
excited.
equals SEO. Look at that.
Ugh.
Perfect.
Nice.
So we have a public endpoint working. I'm just going to double check in incognito mode so that's not anything. Oh, perfect. So we're good to go. So we have our API. Okay. So let's go here, and then I kind of outlined what we want to have, but let's just delete that for a second. Okay. And I'm going to go into my editor here, and I'm just going to go. This is how I usually start things. So let's call it the top object. Let trends equal an empty object, and then trends dot. I'm going to make this bigger. The dot endpoint equals this, right? And actually, we don't want that keyword there. And cool. So now let's try to outline what we want to do here, right? In this demo, I decided that I want to have a custom function. So custom function is essentially something that can be called from the spreadsheet. So let's just show you what a custom function is. So test, and then we're going to do this again, and we're going to say return hello. Okay, and that's pretty much it. And we are also going to do something a little bit different. We're going to write a little help file with any custom functions, so that way anybody else can use this. Okay, and says hello. This is JS doc, by the way. Yep. And actually, I don't need to do that. So return hello. And then it is a custom function. And then we can close off that. So we should be able to go into the sheet now and test. Okay, cool. So now anybody who's using the spreadsheet, we have a little help file attached to it. So that's pretty cool. I'm just going to test and make sure it works. Hello, cool. So let's go back into AppScript and let's make this a little bit better, right? And so let's name this get trends data, but actually what you should be doing is the common naming scheme in Excel and spreadsheets is like get trends data, okay? It's all in caps. So the first thing we want to do here is, I'm just going to outline this, right? We want to fetch the endpoint. Wait, first we want to get keyword input from user, okay? If no keyword, reject message, and then once we fetch the endpoint, we want to parse the JSON, and I forget what it looked like. So in our JSON, by the way, I'm using something called JSON Formatter as a Chrome extension. And so it allows you to do cool stuff like this, visualize, okay? So it looks like we have our defaults. We have to go through that. Key, timeline data is an array, so this is what we're gonna loop through. I don't want that time. I don't want that time. I want this one. This one looks best. And then the value here is weird. That is in an array for some reason. But that's pretty much what we want. So we want the formatted access time and the value. So I'm just gonna take this and I'm going to parse the JSON, and then we're gonna go and get formatted access time and value. Value is an array, which I have to remember that, and then we need to go through timeline data in default. So just gonna make this quick comment here. So default is the top object, and then timeline data is the array, and this is what we want to get out of it. Okay, cool. So let's get going here. So I'm going to do, let's use bar just for the sake of being different. So the way that you fetch through AppScript is URL fetch app, and here on my Mac, I'm pressing Command and spacebar, and you'll be able to get that help. And so what I want to do here is I just want to get the fetch, which is a string URL, which is the trends.endpoint. Can't spell, right? And we know that our endpoint here has this keyword, right? So we're going to have to do plus keyword. So that's part of what we need. But right up here, I remember saying that I needed input from the user, right? So let's call this keyword, okay? So really quickly, if not keyword, we can throw new error, but I like to just put the error right into the cell. So please insert keyword. That's that. Okay, so we have that already, and we have a reject message. You should be doing this in a better way, checking if it's string and that kind of thing. But for now, we're going to do this. So we have this going. So this is going to go out and fetch our endpoint, right? There's no authentication. And then what we want to do is we want to get basically string back. So we can use get content text for that. So that's done. And let's see where we are right now. And this is a good use case here. So let's console log our results and see if we actually have the connection working. So I'm going to go console log. I'm going to run that function. Good. Asking me for permissions. Yep. Go to this demo, even though it's unsafe, it's fine. So it's running, and now I can press, oops, I forget where it is. Let's just go to logs here. So in the new V8 in AppScript, I don't know why, but the logging takes quite a while. For some
brutal.
Weird reason. Yeah, it's weird. Hang on, I'm just gonna go get a pizza. This is pretty bad.
Is it tomato season down there, or is it past?
There's not really a concept of seasons here. It's always kind of like stable, spring, summer.
Got it.
I'm insanely jealous as someone that's in Toronto right now.
Hey, I'm from Ottawa. I know exactly what it's like, and that's one of the reasons I don't live in Canada anymore. Okay, so look, I'm not sure why that's having a hard time.
Oh, should you logger log instead of console log? Because console pushes it to stack.
You know
driver,
what? I think it was that. So, and I also don't have a keyword defined. See, these are the things that you do in live coding because I'm a little bit nervous here. So let's let keyword equals SEO. No, it hasn't. Has not been declared. Or has it been declared? Sure, fine. How about that? So let's try this again.
So I like how you as we're waiting, I like how you.
Hey, look at that.
That's super cool.
Cool. So we got it. So normally what you would do is, you should probably store this JSON object somewhere, and you can store it pretty much anywhere. If I wanted to, so that's actually, how do I turn this off now? Can't really turn it off, can I? So I would do something like this, so that way I'm not consuming my API. I'm just going to put this. This is a bad way of doing things, but who cares right now? Okay, so we have our var JSON, and I'm just going to make sure that this is at the top. You guys are going to have to do some editing because my computer is just stalled.
It's all good.
That's fun. Okay. Discard draft for a second here, and then I'm going to go into new script file, JSON data, and I am going to just put this into a variable, so that way in case I mess up, I don't recall my API, okay? So I'm going to go back to this for a second, and my results are actually going to be slightly different. So we have our JSON data right there, okay? And so what we're going to do is we're going to say var parsed data, okay, equals JSON.parse, because we know that what we're getting back from our little API is JSON data, okay? And let's just make sure that this works again. So I know that I was going to go for parsed data dot default, right? Because that was what was in our object. And then dot time align data, and we knew that that was an array. So I'm just going to take the first element in that array, and I'm going to get the formatted access time, right? And let's just see if that, yeah, sure. Let's just see if that works, okay? So this should be pretty quick, hopefully. Oof. That is interesting.
It's already parsed, isn't it? Like you don't need to parse it.
It's just formatted.
Oh.
Anyways, we're gonna cut this out of the video. So I don't know what's going on here, but who cares? Let's go back to this. And let's just make sure that this is working. It's because it copied and pasted, and I'm not sure if there's any kind of weird errors. So we got it, right? It's coming from the API. So this is it. So now what we want to do is we want to output this into the sheet from the custom function, okay? So we already have this kind of working for us. So we know that here, this is an array. So I'm going to for loop or for each, right? And function, we'll call them, I don't know, line, right? And then we will close this. And so now we're going to loop through all this stuff. But before we do that, we want to have an array. So we want to call it results array, for example. Okay, and then we initiate that as an array. And now I know what I want to get from this, right? So,
okay. So you're going to push each loop. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so results array dot push, and I have to think about this for a second because we want this formatted properly in the sheet, and because the sheet will use 2D arrays, right? So I think I'm just doing this actually. And so we know the first one is line dot formatted access time. And the next value we wanted was, what was it again? It was the value, and that was an array. So line dot value, and then it's just going to take the first element, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, there's just one.
Yeah, it's just one, right? Well, hopefully I didn't look through the whole object. Again, this is the perils of live coding already. And so that looks good. And so let's just return the results array, and let's test it from the sheet here. But first, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that's all clear. Let's get rid of these comments now. And, fingers crossed, folks. So I should get an error because I'm not putting in a keyword. Good. Keyword is going to be apples. Hey, look at that.
Nice.
And now we have a timeline.
So what is this returning here? This is by default, the API is returning a promise for the results, but what is it saying here? Interest over time. Let's just double check what we're seeing here. How about that? And what it looks like, because I didn't set any country or anything, right? So apples, and we know it's past 12 months, probably 2004 to present. I don't think it's just the US, I think it's worldwide. And let's have a look here. So we have January 2004, 48. 42. How about this one? July 2004 is 37. 36. So the numbers are a little bit off, but I think they're good enough for now for us to be able to work with. I would probably go back to this package and have a look at how they're pulling the results. And I'm sure interest by region, interest over time. Yeah, so it looks like you can specify geography. I don't know what the default is, but good enough for now. Good enough for now. So we know that this is working, but this isn't really formatted the way I want. I kind of want a column header here, right? So let's go ahead and fix that. So I want to results array dot unshift, and then I'm going to say date, and then whatever the keyword was, right? So I think that makes a little bit more sense. So there we go. So that works there. So we're almost, we're looking in good shape here, right? So we want to get this a little bit more formatted for maybe Data Studio. And that's going to be hard because if I keep doing this, so if I take this custom function now, unless you know this, Noah, so I'm going to, instead of apples, I'm going to say zoom. Is that, oh, look at that. It's right at the end. March, yeah. April. Nobody cared about them up until, yeah, 100. So Noah, do you think you could work with this, or do you think that we should?
Yeah, that's easy. Yeah.
Yeah. So in Data Studio, are you able to get rid of this column pretty easily?
Well, we could get rid of the columns. We could just disable those two columns. You mean getting rid of C and D, right?
Well, no, basically what I want is, I think what I want is this, right? So I think that's what it should look like.
Yeah.
And then, because the months and the years add up, but then it's just nice and clean here. So we know that these are your keywords, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How about we do that in code? How about we do that in code? So let's add another parameter here. We're going to call it omit date. Okay. So here we are going to say if omit date. We are.
What if you just
turn?
Can you turn the parameter into an array so that they're just putting an array of keywords in, and then it'll do one date, and then the keywords will each be a column, so that your push will be, you'll loop through the push, so it's creating extra columns depending on how many keywords there are? Or can it only do one at a time?
So you want to put multiple keywords in this custom function, is that right?
Yeah. So that, and then it's just returning one date. It hits the API once per keyword, right? And then it would grab the values for one, then grab the values for the next, and then join them by date and push each row.
So our API right now is, yeah. So I guess so. We did our API here, which is our source, doesn't really, it literally just takes in one keyword, right? I'd love to do the loop here.
Yeah. I was thinking that
so you would,
like, it would perform one hit per keyword in the parameter array. So if you did get keyword data parentheses with an array of values, it'll grab each one and do one request per keyword.
We could, but there's a reason why I don't know if that'll work with the next thing I'm going to show you with that
cool. I'll shut up.
Basically this hack. That is a really good idea, and I would definitely try that next time. But I think I want to keep this nice and simple as much as I possibly can, because we're going to do a little hack to essentially do automatically refresh these things. And I'm not sure if I'm going to have any problems with that, and I know we're strapped for time. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to say if omit date, then we're only going to push this line value. Okay. I should probably do that, and then else. So if omit date is true, or if it has some kind of value, then we're only going to push the line value. And if it's not, then we're going to push both. So let's just go ahead and make sure that whoever the user is knows what this is. So param, and then SEO, let's call it, is the keyword. The keyword you want data for. And then let's also omit date. So let's just make it a Boolean, right? Omit date. Use true to omit date column from output. Okay, let's see if this actually works here. So I'm going to get rid of this zoom for a second. And then now I should have omit date true. Oof, what happened there? I still have my pop.
The unshift line.
Sorry, the unshift. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to do this again for the sake of being really fast. So if omit date, then we're only going to have this keyword, and then else. I should really clean this code up, but let's go ahead with this and call it date here, and that should do it. And then in AppScript, if you didn't know, if you highlight everything, press tab, should make everything a little bit cleaner for you. Of course, we want to definitely clean up this code if we're using it, and so that looks like it worked. So let's go ahead and do another one. So Google, what's it called again? Get trends data. And so now I want SEO, and I'm not going to put in omit date, and so I should get the date back. Hey, look at that. Okay, so we are at the point now where we have a working API, and we are now parsing this API properly in Sheets, and we have a cool little custom function that works. So it's awesome. So the next step is, how do I automate this so that we can essentially have a trigger, right? We want to be able to trigger this, and it looks like at least this data set refreshes once a month. Okay, so let's call it the first of every month or the second of every month. So how do we do this? You could do this in a bunch of different ways. So here I chose a custom function because I think it's familiar to more people. I think it's more accessible to people because it's like an Excel style formula. But realistically, you probably want to take in data from the user in the form of like, I don't know, an input box, and then cycle through all your keywords and then output this to the sheet. So that way it would just be plain data, okay? But for the sake of this tutorial, this app, we're just gonna do this really quickly. So how do I do this? How do you get this custom function to essentially refresh, right? It may refresh on, I don't know if I saved anything there. Hopefully this works. So a Google Sheet won't necessarily refresh a custom function all the time. It's got some caching function. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I know that if you have left the custom function in there for a while and you refresh your sheet or open your sheet, it will refresh. But we need this to happen on demand. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete this. As you see, because I modified adjacent cells, it actually refreshes itself. So here's the trick. So we know that we have two parameters here. So the first one is the keyword, and the second one is omit date. We know that if omit date is false, then we're still going to get the date column back. So I'm just going to do this really quickly, and you'll see that we should get the date column back. Now, you can have a hidden parameter, okay? And I'm going to put this as a cell reference of F1. Now, F1 now has special powers, okay? Because this custom function thinks it relies on this input, if we change the value of F1 to 1, now we can force this custom function to refresh, which is really cool, okay? And that's exactly what we're gonna do. So we are gonna have a secret sheet. And we are going to get rid of all this because the less rows you have, the more efficient your spreadsheet becomes. So I am going to have this formula here. Instead of F1, we are actually going to point it to our super secret B1, and we're going to do that. Okay, so secret variable here. Cool. And I'm just going to highlight this in red so that you can see what's going on later on. And now I need a way to essentially change this somehow programmatically. So I'm going to go into my script editor here. I don't know what was in my, sure, recover draft. Great. Okay, so we have this working here, and I'm just gonna clean this up just a bit. And we're gonna have another function, okay? We're gonna create a brand new function here. Let's call it function secret counter. And what this is going to do is it's going to get the value of the secret cell and change it. We can do math.random. We could have anything, but I'm just going to increment by 1. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So the first thing we need to do is use a spreadsheet service. So spreadsheet app, and then we're going to get the active spreadsheet. Okay, what's called get sheet by name. And what was our sheet name? Our sheet name was secret sheet. Secret sheet. Okay, so now we've got that, and I think what I want to do here is I want to actually get the range. So I'm telling AppScript where I want to get this. So get range, just so you guys can see. Get range. There's a few different ways of doing this. So you can do it by number of rows, or specify basically the coordinates, right? Integer row, integer column. So we know that it's in the first row and the second column, because it was in B1, right? So first row, column 2. And just for being good about this, so var secret cell equals that. And so next thing we want to do is get the value. So let's make another variable here. So secret cell value. Oops. And what I want to do here is I want to call the secret cell's coordinates, and I want to get value. Yep, get value. Sorry, I keep forgetting my semicolons. And then from here, we want to increment, right? So we want to say secret cell dot set value, and then we want to say secret cell value plus 1. That should work. If that doesn't work, then we just have to put it into another variable, and that should be it. So let's go ahead and check our current value. Just put a 1 in there for now, and then I'm going to go to secret counter. And I should get permission errors because now I'm trying to call functions of spreadsheets. So I did have to authorize and give it more scope, more permissions. Great, it's fine. So 2, hey, look at that. Let's do it again, just for the sake of it.
David, quick question. And something that people who are just learning AppScript at home, can you switch back to the AppScript editor? So what's kind of interesting to keep in mind is in the get range call there on line 48, it's often confusing when you're dealing with JavaScript if something is 0 index or 1 index. When you're dealing with Sheets and AppScript, just keep in mind your indexing starts with 1 when you're doing get range for both rows and columns.
Yeah, that is a really good one, especially JavaScript and what is it, the dates, right? Months have a 0 index. Yeah, it sucks. Yeah, good point. Okay, so we have this, and just for the sake of it, let's email. I think it's called mail app. Yeah, dot send email, and recipient is going to be, let's say, myself, and then subject is demo ran, and then blah. Okay, so now the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm not sure about the notifications in the new AppScript. I think before when there were triggers, they didn't really get any. So I'm just going to make sure. I want to email myself every time this runs. So now I'm ready to go to where is it? Current projects triggers. And what I want to do here is I want to add a trigger. Okay, and this is exact secret counter is the one that we want to have run. Which deployment should run head is fine. Not from spreadsheet. We want time driven, and we want it to run every minute. And yes, I'm very satisfied. No comment. And so failure notification settings. Let's say notify me immediately. Okay. Then I'm going to save this. Oh, I didn't know it asked you for permissions on this too. So let's just go ahead and finish this. And okay, so that looks like it's all set up. So how about this? Let's go into here. And now I'm going to paste this in here as well. Let's call it SEO. Let's call it Zoom. And omit date is going to be true. And we're going to keep our secret sheet variable. And I don't know. Do you guys have another suggestion for another keyword?
Let's do Python. I think that would be really interesting to see.
Hey, what's going on here?
And then we could do Node. Oh, you misspelled true.
Thank you.
Yep.
God. This might be the last time I do live coding. So Python and it was what, JavaScript, Node?
Yeah, Node. What the heck? Yeah.
Okay,
and then
cool.
AppScript. Let's do AppScript because then we can have an argument in the winner. We'll go down to the bottom row and see which one wins.
Okay, so this is pretty cool. You can make this into a much nicer tool, but for the sake of where we're at today, this is pretty good. Let's just make the font. That's a cool font.
Go to the bottom. Let's see who wins.
Oh, you want to spoil it? I thought you want to do this in Data Studio.
Yeah, we're not going to.
Don't you want to visualize it?
Yeah,
no, you can't tell anybody anything.
So here's the question. Here's the question, though. So why didn't you just set up a trigger on the top function and set up another trigger on the notification function and forget about all the secret counter stuff?
So if you were to set the trigger on this, I can't guarantee it's going to refresh here.
Oh. And is that because of the caching?
It's because it's a custom function. So if this was a function that outputted to the sheet, then yeah, it would be, then it would work. Absolutely. But just running this again. So let's try to run this and see if it does actually do anything.
So if you had done get range set values, if you had defined a range and did get range set values, then you could have put a trigger on it?
I could theoretically just put all this into, I could do all this.
Yeah. Okay, that's fascinating.
In there.
Okay.
Noah, did you know that? Because
what's that? Which part?
The trigger part.
So I just built a really cool trigger for our Google My Business add-on, and it allows the add-on to run so you can schedule all your Google My Business posts into the future, and then you set the trigger to run on a daily basis and check the dates in the date column to make sure that they match today's date, and if they do, they push the post up to the GMB API. So custom function equals it's not pushing to a specific place in the sheet, it's pushing to where you define that function in the sheet. So also, David, can you go into the JS doc and show people in the sheet when you put that function in, how the JS doc creates the documentation in the front end on the fly, which is super cool.
Yep. get trends data, and this is the JS doc. So
That's so cool.
do you see how all the formulas keep refreshing? Hopefully you guys caught that on video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So right now my email inbox should be full of spam.
Nice.
And there it is.
Nice.
Spam.
5 minutes of blah.
Let's turn off the email because I know I will forget this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all set up and working. Now I can pass it over to you. I mean, like, you have this, right? This should be enough for you to it should just work in Data Studio, I think.
Yeah, I'll be able to visualize it. So are you going to hang on the call while I build it? And Jordan, you want to ask him questions? Ooh, Jordan, are you excited to see which of the 3 technologies wins? There it is. And
so David, when we spoke at Tech SEO Boost, you were talking about BigQuery. Have you explored that as a data warehouse yet?
Yeah, but so the project was getting a whole bunch of Google Search Console data into BigQuery. And we defined everything to a really granular level. You know, being able to essentially filter by country, filter by landing page, and you would try to get specific data. It just never matched up to the interface. And so, you know, we spent some time, you know, playing around with the API, and then we used Fivetran, and really good services, right? The ETL pipelines they're good and everything, but the data was just a little bit unreliable for Google Search Console. And then we didn't have.
I'm in the middle.
We didn't have much use outside of that for now. In terms of BigQuery, I am not using BigQuery right now because I don't have any projects that require it.
Interesting. So from what it sounds like, there was data sampling issues between.
Yeah. If you look at basically even in Data Studio and the Google Search Console API, I had a problem before where there's a null value, right? When you're requesting a whole bunch of queries, depending on the time frame, you'll get however many there are that you would see in the interface, or you would get actually a lot more from the API. And then at the end of it, there's going to be a whole bunch of anonymized queries, and there'll be a whole bunch of stats for those queries, like clicks and impressions. But then that's a major reason why your numbers don't match up, especially when you're trying to build really precise dashboards. And so I actually got the hint from Patrick Stocks, and he told me just to eliminate the null or undefined value, essentially at the end. That's one of the things. The other thing is when you start adding in filters, that's when things get a little bit weird. You start getting a lot more sampling. And our Newt Hellman's actually at Tech SEO, he warned me about that well in advance, and he said that he's like, you're not going to get the data that you want. And so he's just said watch for filters, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And then there was another thing about Google Search Console was based on computing time. That's something that's Supermetrics identified, and it said depending on the time of day, Google may or may not have the resources to run through everything, and then you'll get a different level of sampling. So that was my short adventure into BigQuery data warehousing for SEO.
Wow. Those are some major takeaways, huh?
Yeah. It was unfortunate because you look at it and you're like, you make these gorgeous dashboards, right? And you've got things pulling in from the Data Studio connector, right? The community connector for Google Search Console, and that one's not that good. And the motivation for going in and using data warehousing like BigQuery is, first of all, it seems like it's a lot faster to pull from in Data Studio, but secondly, you're actually going to you can cross-reference, between URL and keywords that it's known for, it's being seen for, which you can't really do in the interface at scale. And so you do it for flexibility. But then when you start getting wildly different numbers, and then you're not the only person looking at it, and you can caveat the data as much as you want. But at the end of the day, some people within client organizations or within your organization are going to look at the interface and say, hey, we're off by 10,000, right? Depending on the volume of your metrics, we saw as much as 10% variance, right, for a specific time period. And so it just became, we'll just stick with the interface. We'll stick with the community connector because that everyone can see that one, and the numbers are relatively stable. Even though we can't get all the keyword data out of it, if we need the keyword data, then I'll pull it from the API, but that's going to be a separate thing. And I'm not going to put 100% trust in those numbers. I'm going to use it as a guide, which generally we should be doing anyways.
Wow.
App script for the win.
That looks good. That looks good.
So check out Node. Node is blue.
Oh, yeah.
Python is a 98.
Oh, no. Node's blue.
App script is 100. Whoa!
That's good.
Super.
Why did
fun.
AppScript just jump out of nowhere?
I don't know. I think this is junk Google data pumping the numbers. I love the Zoom though.
There's got to be a reason. What's the reason for AppScript jumping out?
Does it coincide with the V8 launch?
Oh, maybe.
No, look. This is, check this out right here. This is right around when you were presenting at Tech SEO Boost, right? Boom! Everyone's like, yeah, I got to get in that. December 2019. Isn't that when you presented?
I can't remember.
I think it's February. Was it February?
Yeah. I don't know. What day is it today? I
don't know.
I don't even know anymore.
Wow. Awesome.
That's a good chart. That's a really good chart. And so,
David, this was a total hoot. Oh, and this was just 2018. So, like, if we go back, it's pretty interesting.
That's right. We can go back. We can go back to 2014, which is awesome, right?
We can go back to 2004. I mean, we have that data apparently. Yeah, fascinating.
Great. So this is going to, so if our trigger was still in there, which is not because I didn't want to email myself and consume my own API, we could tell it to refresh every first of the month. And then Data Studio, remind me again, because I always forget these things, but we can set the refresh interval, right?
Yes. Yep. I'm not sure if it's every minute or every hour at the closest.
I think it's 15 minutes.
Okay.
What about the longest? Can we say just refresh once every 10 days or every week or every 30 days?
Well, it's just driven by the data in the data source, right? And then every time you open this, it'll refresh the data. That's my understanding. Okay. I could be wrong.
If you go to, I think it's edit and then data sources.
You can change it there to make it longer, but 15 I think is the minimum.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, so this is to
12.
So this isn't going to consume your. Okay, so give us insight. Why do you want to make this longer? Because it's not going to consume your API.
I don't want to waste anybody's computer resources, right?
There's
no need for Google to keep refreshing the data source if it's not going to update. It updates once a month, right? So
yeah,
that's a good looking graph. It's really cool.
I love it. Neat.
Okay,
David, this was a total hoot. We got to stay in touch. I want to help. You know what we were talking about. That's super exciting.
Cool.
And this is really neat data.
Okay.
This was a great episode of Agency Automators. Thanks, David. Have a great day.
That was awesome. Very good. You too.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
All right. Take care, guys.